Now, this happened last night around 9:15 as that couple were leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum at 3rd and F Streets. That is right across the street from the FBI's Washington field office. The suspect is in custody right now.
We have team coverage of this breaking story. John Rogers and John Gonzalez are standing by, but we're going to begin with Joy Wang, who is live right near where this happened. And Joy, we are learning more this morning about the suspect.
MPD, they've identified the suspect as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez. He is from Chicago, Illinois. MPD also saying that there were no prior interactions with him. In fact, when they conducted a background check, they said there was nothing that would put him on their radar. As for the district as a whole, well, MPD's Chief Pamela Smith also saying that they didn't receive any intelligence before the shooting that brought up concerns when it came to any sort of terrorism or hate crime threat. Meanwhile, we do want to bring you to the scene from last night because a man was seen in custody inside of the museum shouting support for Palestinians. Take a listen.
Free, free Palestine!
Now, investigators say before the shooting, the suspect was seen pacing back and forth outside of the museum, approached a group of 4 people, then shot at them, hitting a young couple who worked at the Israeli embassy. He later entered the museum and was detained by event security. Now, the American Jewish Committee, they were actually hosting an event at the museum last night at the time of the shooting, and police believe both victims were leaving the event when the shooting happened. MPD is currently in charge of the homicide portion of this investigation. The FBI will look at potential terrorism, bias, or hate crimes. Here's how MPD Chief Pamela Smith described how the suspect was taken into custody.
After the shooting, the suspect then entered the museum and was detained by event security. Once in handcuffs, the suspect identified where he discarded the weapon, and that weapon has been recovered, and he implied that he committed the offense.
Since last night, MPD, they've been in touch with synagogues, schools, organizations, seeing how they can be more supported. Meanwhile, we do want to mention the mayor. She had said that there are a number of grants that help with security concerns. In fact, just last week, this museum was awarded a $500,000 grant to address security. Live near the Capitol Jewish Museum, Joy Wang, 7 News.
Joy, thank you. This morning, we are also learning more about the victims here. This young couple was supposed to get engaged in Jerusalem next week.
7 News reporter John Gonzalez continuing our team coverage. So, John, this attack has shaken both the Israeli and American Jewish communities, and even the Israeli embassy is now speaking out.
That's right, Adam. In a written statement this morning, the embassy saying that the entire staff here is heartbroken and devastated by these murders. You can see here the embassy right on International Drive here in Upper Northwest D.C. Not a whole lot of movement here. We've got police activity around the embassy, but that's not unusual. Now, they say no words can express the depth of our grief and horror at this devastating loss. The couple, who are also staffers here at the embassy, walked out of that museum hand in hand, leaving behind an evening dedicated to peace and humanitarian values. But within moments, Yaron, Lischinsky, and Sarah Milgrim were gone, gunned down. Ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, describes this as a horrific attack, not just on Jews, he says, or Israelis, but on the values of freedom and the safety in the United States. Yaron and Sarah were reportedly preparing to announce their engagement next week in Jerusalem. This wasn't a random act. Officials say it's the latest, most violent expression of rising anti-Semitic rhetoric spreading through campuses and protests throughout the country. Israeli leaders, including President Isaac Herzog, condemned the killings. U.S. officials have also expressed outrage, promising justice.
So we cannot go into details at this stage, but you know, when you have an event of a Jewish event in a Jewish museum, you know, there's no coincidence there. Somebody came with intentions. Unfortunately, it was successful, you know, wounding people, killing people.
No coincidence, the ambassador says. Now, as the investigation continues, security, we are told, is being tightened at Jewish institutions nationwide, and for 2 families, one in Israel, one in the United States. There's only heartbreak this morning, and just hours ago, so much hope for this young couple. Reporting live outside of the Israeli embassy, John Gonzalez, 7 News.
This morning at the Alert Desk, I'm looking at hate crime statistics on the local and national level. The FBI's most recent figures are from 2023. That year, they had nearly 14,000 victims of hate crimes. This chart shows the bias categories. There was 52.5% of crimes based on race, 22.5% on religion, 18.4% motivated by sexual orientation. Now, looking at this chart over the past few years, I want you to focus on these bottom lines here. There was a spike back in the summer of 2020 in terms of hate crimes. Since then, it's been slowly kind of trekking upward. DC police, they also keep stats. This is all publicly available. They do admit it is difficult sometimes to establish a motive for a crime, but so far, as of April 30th of this year, they've reported 14 hate crimes for ethnicity or national origin, also 9 for race, 1 for religion. Strolling down here to the bottom, so far this year, 41 have been reported, 41 hate crimes rather, all reported in D.C. And you can see the trend here, 146 back in 2024. That's up from 92 in 2011.
All right, John, thank you. Stay with 7 News as we continue to follow this breaking news event throughout the day. We'll bring you the latest information on air and on our homepage.